AI is not going to take your job. I know that sounds reassuring, but here's what nobody's telling you. There's a 6x productivity gap right now between people who really know how to use AI and everyone else using it the basic way. Same tools, same subscription, completely different outcomes. I've been watching this gap widen for months, and the data is starting to get wild. So I'm going to show you exactly what changed, why basic AI skills aren't enough anymore, and what this means for everyone who's just typing prompts into ChatGPT. Let's get into it. So let's go back 2023. AI just became accessible to everyone, and it felt magic. You could type a question into ChatGPT and get the answer that used to require hiring an expert or spending hours researching. So the playing field felt closer to level. Not equal, but closer than before. So a solo creator, for example, could suddenly do things that used to feel out of reach. A small business owner could draft marketing copy, not agency quality, but good enough. Better than when they have written it alone, especially if writing wasn't their strength. A student can get explanations on demand at 2 a.m. without waiting for the teachers to come in during office hours. And the skill that mattered was pretty simple. Could you write a decent prompt? Could you ask a clear question? If yes, then you got value. If no, you still got value, but just maybe a little less. The gap between different AI users was small, but the gap between users and non-users was huge. It was like everyone got a powerful new calculator. Some pressed buttons faster, but 2 plus 2 still equaled 4. AI was the great equalizer. At least that was the promise. And for a moment, it was real. But that was 2023. Here's what changed. Three things happened that most people missed. The first one is that AI capabilities exploded, but it's not just chat anymore. We have AI that can write code, integrates with other tools, browses the web autonomously, can access your files, control your computer, plan multi-step workflows, and execute them without you even watching. The second thing that happened is that skills required change. Using AI in 2023 was like driving an automatic car. Point it in a direction, press the gas, and you're off to the races. Using AI in 2026, on the other hand, is more like piloting a plane. Yes, there's autopilot, but knowing when to use it, when to take manual control, how to read the different instruments, and how to navigate the complex conditions, that takes real training and experience. The skills that matter now are understanding model limitations, knowing when to loop back versus starting fresh, managing context windows effectively, orchestrating tools together, and so on. So it isn't just writing a better prompt anymore. It's a completely different category. The third thing that changed is that the leverage multiplier grew, but so did the skill requirement. In 2023, if you used AI at all, you got maybe 1.5x productivity. Pretty consistent across users. Now, basic users still get that 1.5x, but skilled users are hitting 6x, 10x, and especially in coding, they say it's 17x. It's the same subscription, the same tool, but completely different outcomes. It's like two people with the same gym membership, right? One uses the treadmill for 20 minutes. The other has a trainer that understands periodization, optimal nutrition, tracks their recovery. Same gym, different results. That's where we are at with AI right now. Now, let me tell you a story that made this real for me. Last week, my girlfriend asked me if AI could help create slides from an SOP document that she had. And the timing was perfect because Claude had just released Cowork, an agentic AI where it can take actions, create files, plan out steps, and work autonomously on your computer. I thought that this was a great opportunity for her to try out these new agentic AI tools. And the thing is, she's not an AI snob. She actually uses ChatGPT multiple times a week. She understands AI and knows basic prompting. But here's what happened. When I understood what she needed to do, I immediately knew the workflow. Not because I'm special, but because I've been doing this for months now. I've actually been using Claude Code to create things just like this. The visuals on this video, for example, Claude Code helped me create them. So when I saw the task, I already knew the steps. In my head, I was like, okay, I need to feed it the brand guidelines so that the colors and fonts match. I should ask it to research best practices for SOP slides specifically. Then it can read that research and then structure the content to create the file. And after that, I can iterate on the design. So that's not really intuition out of the box, right? That comes from experience with what these tools can actually do. But she was still thinking of it like a chatbot, something you ask questions to, not something that acts and takes action. And this is the gap that nobody talks about. It's not really just about AI familiarity, because she uses AI regularly. It's about understanding the paradigm shift that's invisible to most people. AI that answers versus AI that acts. Most people are in the first category. They don't even know the second category exists. And the uncomfortable part is, she's not really behind. She's exactly where most people are. The difference is most people don't realize that there's a gap at all. And I'm not just saying this from personal observation. The data backs it up. Let me show you the numbers because this is just not a theory floating around in my head. OpenAI studied over 1 million business users of ChatGPT and their tools. The top 5%, or what they're calling frontier workers, are getting 6 times more productivity than the average user. Not 20%, not 50%, 6 times. Same tool, same subscription, one person doing the work of 6. And it gets more wild with coding because the gap there is 17x. I mean, imagine if you're competing against someone who can do in an hour what takes you 17 hours. That's just not a skill gap. That's a different league entirely. And PwC also surveyed 50,000 workers globally. Daily AI users had a 52% salary increase, while occasional users only 32%. Same economy, same job market, different trajectories. Another surprising thing is that Harvard and BCG studied how AI affects different workers. They saw that junior employees saw 43% improvement in output quality, while senior employees only got 17%. Now, upon hearing that, that's kind of weird, right? Like, why do seniors get less than juniors? Well, that's because AI lets beginners perform closer to experts, but only if they know how to use it properly. The juniors who master the AI tools close the gap between juniors to seniors, while the junior who doesn't, they just get left behind by the juniors who do. And what makes all of this data urgent is that AI fluency requirements in job postings grew 7x the past 2 years, but only 1/3 of the workers received any AI training at all. The demand is exploding, but the training isn't keeping up. So what does this actually mean for us? I think that the window to build real AI skills isn't infinite. And I don't mean that in a fear-mongering doomer kind of way, right? I'm not saying act now before it's too late. Those YouTube thumbnails you see. I mean it mathematically. AI proficiency has compound effects. The person who masters the tools today build the systems that save the time tomorrow. And that time gets reinvested into more learning, which creates more capability, which creates more time. So it's a flywheel effect. And the person who waits, the gap doesn't stay the same, it widens. And every time these tools level up, then the divide doesn't close, it grows. Because the people who understand the paradigm can immediately see what's newly possible, while everyone else has to wait until the companies start making these features user-friendly or someone shows them. Now, to go back to the story, my girlfriend will figure out these tools eventually. I'll teach her, and she'll get it. But by then, I'll have built 50 things with it. Actually, to be specific, in the last 7 days alone, I built 3 different systems that I now use for my business. A research skill that gathers everything about a potential client and rolls it into an intelligence brief. A proposal skill that takes my meeting notes and turns them into beautifully formatted proposals through HTML, and then I can download as PDF. And a skill that takes my YouTube transcriptions and generates SEO-optimized descriptions and tags. That's 7 days, 3 business systems that I'll use over and over because they already work exactly how I want them to. That's the flywheel in action. And that's the dynamic playing out everywhere, at every skill level, at every industry. Quite uncomfortable, I know, but ignoring it doesn't make it less true. So, what do you actually do about this? I want to give you a mental model, not a full tutorial, because that's a different video, and I already have a lot of videos talking about how to leverage these AI tools. But instead, I want to give you a map of where the gap actually is. It's not about features, because these tools already have the features. Claude Code, for example, can access files, can browse the web, write code, run commands. The features are there for all of the Claude users. So, what then creates the gap? Three things. First is hours of practice. Research shows that less than 5% of people have spent even 10 hours figuring out what AI is actually good at. 10 hours. That's it. I couldn't even believe it when I saw this, but apparently it's true that most people just try out a few prompts, they get mediocre results, and conclude that AI isn't ready yet or it's not good enough. They've never actually crossed the threshold where you start to calibrate, where you start to develop intuition for what works and what doesn't. Second is iteration, not commands. Because average users still treat AI like Google. They type a query, get an answer, while power users treat it like a conversation. Try this. Make it shorter. Now add this thing. Can you start over with this angle? Things like that. The research shows power users average 16 prompts per session, while average users, 1 or 2. Again, same tool, different approach. And the third one, which I think is a game changer, is turning conversations into systems. This is, for me, the real multiplier, especially me personally. Because when you have a conversation with AI that finally produces great output, most people just move on or they save their prompt hoping that they can replicate the result for later. But power users stop and ask, how do I never have this conversation again? What they do is they turn it into a template, a reusable system, a skill that they can run over and over. That's exactly what I've been doing every time I figure out how to get AI to do something well and how I want it. Especially if I know it's a task I'll be doing repeatedly. Then I create a skill for it. And at this point, I have over 50 of these skills for different tasks in my life. Stuff like client research, proposals, product spec tickets, and many more. Each one started as a messy conversation, and each one is now a one-click workflow. I just type in the slash command, give it additional context, and then off it goes. This is the actual gap. It's not about learning the features. The features are there. It's about putting in the hours to calibrate, treating AI as dialogue, not commands, and building systems from what works. So the first group gets 1.5x productivity, the second group gets 6x. Same subscription, different approach. Now, I've made a lot of content and will be making more about how to actually build out these systems. If that's useful, then subscribe. But either way, at least now you know what's at stake. The question now isn't, are you using AI? It's now, how well can you use AI? And the distance between good and great, it's growing every day.